This is page 317. This is the first lesson I'm giving on this unit. Page 316, they're showing you a chord progression. And they're using inversions to make it a nice sounding chord progression. So we're not using root position all the time. And they give you the numbers up above. We're starting in C major here, all white keys. And the first one they give you in the right hand, it's first inversion. And in the left hand, you're playing the root. And then the 2-6, well, remember a 2 chord is here, and that 6 would be there. You're playing first inversion. That's first inversion. And then the 1-6-4 and 5-7-1 in the left hand. And the right hand, you're doing the inversions. You have here 1 chord in first inversion, and then you have a 6 chord here. A 6 chord is here. So it's second inversion. This is just the right hand. They're not showing the inversions for the right hand in the notes, the numbers underneath, because the left hand is covering, and you have to consider both hands together. Just the right hand by itself, though, this is second inversion here on the 6 chord. And then the 4 chord, and then the 2 chord is here, but we put the F on the bottom, so it's first inversion. And then the 1 chord, first inversion, 5-7. What they want you to do is play this pattern, this inversion. See, it kind of flows very nicely. Rather than playing root position on everything, it just jumps around. But by using inversions, then things flow a little better. They want you to go through all the keys. Just go up a half step and do this one. I'll show you there. It's the same. You go up the next one, and you do the next one, and then go up the. I leave that up to you. If you're into improvising, this kind of thing comes in handy. Composing, this thing would come in handy. If you're into reading music, I see no use for it, but it's up to you. I don't have a lot to say on it other than it's presented in the book, so there you go. Have a ball with it. Just okay. Now, let's talk about this piece on 317. That's really what this lesson is about. Ecossaise. There's a lot of composers did Ecossaises. There's a very well-known one by Beethoven. And Ecossaise is like a playful, prankish, fun thing. You can expect the unexpected, sort of, with a playful. You can Google Ecossaise. They'll explain a lot better than I do. But I'm going to go through the routine for learning a piece of music. Let's see what we end up with, because this looks a little bit challenging. And in a way it is, but we'll see what we can do. I look it over. It's 4 lines of music. Now, there's repeat signs and things make it last longer than that, but there's only 4 lines of music to deal with. Treble, bass, clef, 1 sharp in the key signature, so we're either in the key of G major or E minor. And if we look at the end, the fine, which is at the end of the second line, it's here. We're in G major chord, I figure we're in G major. However, go ahead and do the scales and arpeggios for both G major and E minor. By now, you should know them. So you need to do 2 octaves. If you don't know them, you just do 1 octave, but really by now you should know them. And 2 4-time signature. We got a lot of 8th notes and 16th notes to deal with. There is a pickup notes at the beginning, so we're not coming in on beat 1. We're coming in on the and of 2. 1 and 2 and 1 e and 2 e and type thing. Yeah, all right. You'll notice the piece is actually in 2 sections. The first 2 lines is a section, section A. The last 2 lines is another section, section B. Each section has its own pickup beats. But if you look at the last measure of each section, you'll find there's only 1.5 counts in it. So altogether, it works out to 2 counts in every measure. Right hand first. I'm going to try and connect all this because I want a fingering that works connected. So I'm here. And it's 1 e and 2 e and 1 e and 2. Crossover. Reach up. See, this is a little weird. Again, we got to cover 6 notes with 5 fingers, so we're just crossing over. We could have done a 5-4 You can do that too, if you don't mind being up here with the thumb. Here, if this is a stretch for you, then I recommend thumb there. So that would be in the first full measure is 5/4. That way you can do it here. Here. And that second full measure, 1 and 2 and. And you can see how the notes in the upper staff line up with the eighth notes in the bottom staff. That helps a little on some people. And go on 1 and 2 and 1 and 1 and 2 and pickup beat. Same thing again in measure 5. Finger it the same way you did the first full measure. Now, third line. We have rests. We got time to come up. That's fine. 1E and a 2E and a 1. 1E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1. And now measure 13. What's the fingering? It's 1, 2. The repeated notes. We're just changing hand positions. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And I use second finger on the A. People will have a tendency to want to use thumb. I would recommend it not using the thumb on both. This is at the bottom, measures 14 to 15. Here, I don't recommend using thumb for measure 15, excuse me. Use second finger. Reach down. Okay, and that's sort of the right hand. Left hand, rhythm-wise, a bunch of eighth notes, broken chords. 1. And you can use fourth finger there, like on measure 4. You don't have to come up with fifth. You can use 4. It's up to you or your teacher. Okay. Measure 9, broken octaves. Connect them as best you can. Measure 13, I use fourth finger on the G. Then down. And you can use fourth finger for measure 15 because you just used fifth. You use 4 if your hand's big enough. Now last measure at the bottom, it is a here, here, here. This is unfortunate because we can't. You have to have big hands for that. But the fingering shown in the book for that last measure is actually quite common in piano playing, so we do it quite a bit. Usually the notes are further apart, and you have to do it's like here. Something way far apart. But again, it's like the 2-1 and then the 1-5 again. Put the hands together, and again, I might hesitate. That's okay. I just here. See that second full measure? You can tell when I'm playing eighth notes, and you can tell how the right hand lines up with that. Okay, that's basically the piece. So once I have the hands working together, then I go back over it just a section at a time. And I work out the hesitations. And just do it a section at a time. Don't keep trying to do the whole thing all the time. That wastes time. Once you have the hesitations gone, then I add the articulation. Staccatos, I'm flexing at the wrist, short staccatos. You have an accent, ba-bam. That's part of the playfulness of an ecossaise. And you'll see in the second full measure between the stabs the word simile. That simply means keep doing what you've been doing. What it applies to depends on where it is in the music. Here, it's basically telling us to do this articulation in the left hand the same. They're giving us articulation for the right hand, but they quit giving us dots for the left hand. So they're telling us keep doing the dots in the left hand because they're too lazy to put them in or it costs too much money or whatever. So they do it this way. So the left hand is staccato all the way through. Measure 9 at the third line is staccato. That's connected, but left hand staccato. Measure 13 accent. The last measure, look out, that's not staccato, and the same with the end of the second line. It's not staccato. Left hand is. And this comes up when I do that. Right there. Because this note ends when that note gets played. That's the next beat. Now, when you're going from the second full measure to the third here, I put in a little silence between the second full measure and the third. You don't have to play it really short, because it doesn't need to be. The left hand's short. If it's easier for you, then play it short. But I would not connect them. No, put in a little silence there. And in the last measure of the first line, it's a new phrase, so you look up for the phrase anyway. Like taking a breath, yeah. So you can put in a little silence there between. It's like between measures 5 and 6, or 6 and 7, excuse me. Lift up a little silence in there too. That's interpretation. That's my opinion of what you can do. That's the way I would interpret it. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Okay. So I get an idea of the articulation, and then the dynamics. P at the beginning is piano for soft. That's the melody. That makes the accent and notes sort of a moderately soft. You just go up a little bit. The left has to be very soft. Yeah. The third line down in the second section, this is loud. You're heavy. And the left hand's in the background. That makes the accent and notes a very loud note for measure 13. Then the speed, allegro or happy. I call it fast. I guess you could call it happy, but I think fast is more appropriate. But it's the overall feel of the piece. These eighth notes, that's what we're after here. What do those feel like? It's not the beat 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, because that's not fast. But the eighth notes seem fast, so we do it that way. Now, please don't copy me. You don't need to go that fast. If yours, in my opinion, accuracy is more important than speed. So how fast can you be accurate? Find the hardest part, maybe the third line. Wherever the hardest part is, these, whatever. How fast can you do that accurately? That's your allegro. Over time, as you keep playing piano, you'll get better. You can play these for fun. Just come back through and play the pieces in the book for fun. You'll find you'll play them better and faster and enjoy them a little more, I hope, or hate them a little less. I'm not sure. Now that's roadmap. Let's make sure you understand that. There's a repeat sign at the end of the second line, which means you're going to go back and you play the first two lines again, so you can do them twice. Then the last two lines are surrounded by repeat signs, so you're going to do those twice. Then there's a DC al fine there. DC, remember, means go back to the beginning. Just don't ask questions, go to the beginning. And then al fine, go to fine. Fine's at the end of the second line. You don't need to do the repeat again at the end of the second line when you do the fine. So once you've done the last two lines twice, you go back, you do the first two lines again, and you're done. Most of the time in repeat signs, we only repeat one time in that unless there's something in the music that tells us otherwise. And we've already repeated that once. We don't need to do it again. Now, not everybody agrees on all that. So, well, tough. That's what my take on this one. Let's play this together very slowly. Now, this is after you can play it at least slowly with no hesitations. I'm not going to do the louds and softs, no dynamics. I'll do the staccatos and maybe the accents. And we're going to do all the repeats and the DC Fini and the whole bit. So I'm going to go ready and go and then we go on the and of two. Ready and go and it's on the end of go, I guess it is. Just real super slow. And since there's eighth notes everywhere and 16th notes, I'm going to put the metronome on eighth notes. Ready and go. Repeat. Repeat. To the top.